So, I'm Mia, 27, and the oldest in my family. We're pretty average, nothing fancy, but we've always had enough to get by. My parents, Anna and Robert, have been running this small-town bakery for over 2 decades. It's kind of a local staple. Growing up, we weren't wealthy, but our needs were always met. My parents worked hard and made sure both me and my younger brother Jake, 25, learned the same values. Here's the thing. Jake has always been the golden child. It was never subtle. He could do the bare minimum and still get showered with praise while I worked quietly in the background. They gave him endless passes for slacking off, always had his back, no matter what. But I was okay with it. I never needed to be the center of attention. I liked doing my own thing, staying out of the mess, just chasing my goals. Let Jake have the spotlight. It didn't matter to me, at least not until now. 5 years ago, my grandfather passed away. It hit me hard. We were really close. When they read his will, I found out he'd set up a trust fund for me. It wasn't some life-changing jackpot, but it was a solid amount. Enough to make a real difference. There were conditions, though. I couldn't touch it until I turned 30, and even then, only for specific things like buying a house or going back to school. At the time, I didn't think too much about it. I'm not someone who spends recklessly, so I just planned to let it sit until I figured out what I really wanted to do, either put a down payment on a little apartment or maybe finally start my own business, something I've dreamed of for years. Then earlier this year, Jake got engaged to Emma, who's 26 and comes from a pretty well-off family. I'm not trying to be mean, but she's one of those people who always seems picture-perfect, charming, polished. Everyone loves her. I did too, for a while, until things started getting weird. We were at a family dinner a few months back, just sitting around, when, out of nowhere, Emma brought up my trust fund. She said it in this chirpy, casual way that totally threw me off. She asked what I planned to do with the money once I could access it. I kind of shrugged and said maybe I'd buy an apartment or use it to start a business. It felt like a pretty personal question, and I didn't really know what else to say. Emma smiled wide and said, "Wow, that's so lucky. You know, Jake and I could really use some help with the wedding or maybe even a down payment on a house." Jake gave this awkward little laugh, like he wasn't sure if she was joking or not. I laughed too, thinking it had to be a joke. But she just kept staring at me like I was supposed to say yes. It was so uncomfortable. My parents chimed in, saying the money was mine and it wasn't really something to talk about. That shut things down for the moment. But after that night, something shifted. Emma kept bringing it up every time we got together. Never directly, but with comments that made her point. "It's so amazing that you have that kind of opportunity, Mia. It's rare to be in a position to really help your family." Stuff like that. At first I just brushed it off, changed the subject, but she didn't stop. And then Jake started saying things to you. Subtle stuff, like, "You're not even using the money right now." I get why Emma's mentioning it. I finally went to my parents, hoping they'd back me up and tell them to drop it. But my mom just said, "Emma just wants to feel like she's part of the family. She's not being pushy." Nobody had even used the word pushy yet. But, yeah, that's exactly how it felt. I was being backed into a corner. The money wasn't even available yet, and even if it was, I had my own plans for it. Still, I tried to stay calm and figured if I just didn't engage, it would blow over. Nope, Emma decided to corner me again at another family dinner, and this time she dropped all pretenses. She said, "Mia, I really think you should reconsider. Helping Jake and me would show you care about your family. Don't you think it's kind of selfish to just sit on it?" Selfish. She called me selfish, straight to my face. I stayed calm and told her the money wasn't available and I had other plans. She looked at me like I just kicked her puppy. Then she said, "I guess I misunderstood what kind of person you are." Jake called me the next day to apologize, but it didn't feel sincere. He said Emma was stressed about the wedding, that she didn't mean to come off strong, but then added, "She's not wrong though. You could help, and it wouldn't kill you to think about it." That's when I really started questioning everything. Was I being selfish? Was I the problem? I talked to a few close friends, and they were all like, "Absolutely not." Still, I couldn't shake this feeling like my own family had turned on me. My parents seemed more interested in keeping everyone calm than supporting me. Jake was clearly on Emma's side, and Emma ... Well, she wasn't going to let this go. At that point, I realized this wasn't going away. And I wasn't going to cave. I don't care how awkward things get. I'm not handing over my future so Jake and Emma can have a Pinterest-perfect wedding. Update 1. Hey friends, didn't think I'd be posting an update this soon, but while things escalated, like a lot, I'm officially stuck in some kind of soap opera now. So, after the selfish conversation, things got weird. Like, even weirder. Emma started acting cold around me. Tight smiles, distant energy. Jake barely talked to me. My parents were still trying to play the neutral peacekeeper card, but even they seemed off. Emma got bolder. She had this new habit of pulling me aside at family events to bring up the trust fund again. One time, she caught me in the kitchen and said, "Mia, I've been thinking, what if you gave us just a portion of your trust fund as a wedding gift? Not all of it, just enough to help with a down payment on a house." Like what? A wedding gift? Who asks for something like that? I told her no, again, and reminded her I couldn't even access the money yet, and, even when I could, I had plans for it. She gave me this look like I just told her I don't believe in love or something. Then she goes, "I thought you cared about your family. Jake and I are trying to start our life. This would really help. It's not like you even need the money right now." I didn't even respond. I just walked away. The entitlement is wild. But that whole conversation drained me. I was exhausted, emotionally tapped out, but of course, that wasn't the end of it. Over the next few weeks, Emma started getting more creative with her manipulation. She began spinning this narrative like my money was somehow tied to the entire family's future. She actually said that me giving them money would be an investment in the family. I nearly laughed out loud. An investment? What was I supposed to expect in return? Quarterly dividends from their marriage? What really got under my skin was how Jake slowly started echoing her mindset. He wasn't outright asking for the money yet, but he'd dropped these hints. Like, "Mia, you're in such a good spot right now. You could really help us out." It felt like he was testing me, seeing how far he could go before I snapped. I brought it up with my parents again, thinking surely they'd finally intervene. But their response just about knocked the air out of me. My mom said, "Emma just wants to feel like part of the family. And you know Jake's always had it little harder than you financially." I just stared at her. Harder than me. We grew up in the same house, went to the same schools, lived the same life. The only difference was I busted my ass to save and build something for myself while Jake coasted. Then my dad chimes in with, "I'm not saying you should do it, Mia, but maybe just think about it. Sometimes keeping the peace is more important than being right." Keeping the peace, that's what this is about. Not my plans, not my boundaries, but just giving in so nobody has to deal with uncomfortable conversations. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just Emma being pushy. My parents were enabling it. Whether they meant to or not, they were feeding into it. And then came the final straw. A few weeks later, Jake and Emma invited me out to lunch. I assumed it was just a casual catch-up, but the moment I sat down, I knew something was off. They looked way too polished. This wasn't lunch, it was a setup. We chatted a bit about wedding plans. Then Emma leaned in and said, "Mia, we've been thinking, what if you gave us half of the trust fund? That way, you'd still have plenty for yourself, and we could finally move forward without all this stress." Half? She actually said half. I took a deep breath and told her again that the money wasn't even available yet. And even if it were, I had no intention of giving it away. That's when her whole vibe shifted. She started accusing me of hoarding money, of being selfish, of not caring about the family. Jake jumped in too, backing her up, saying, "Mia, I get it, but Emma's not wrong. This could really change our lives. You're in such a good place to help." I walked out of that lunch completely drained and furious. A few days later, my parents called me over for what they called a family meeting. When I showed up, Jake and Emma were already there, looking like they'd just won something. My parents started in with their usual "we just want to keep the family together" speech, and then my dad hit me with it. "Maybe you could give them a portion of the trust. Not half, just something, to show support." I was stunned. My parents, the people I thought would always be in my corner, were now asking me to give away part of my inheritance just to keep Emma from throwing a tantrum. I said no, firmly. Then I walked out. But it didn't end there. Emma started telling her version of the story to everyone in the extended family. Now I'm getting calls and texts from aunts, uncles, cousins I haven't spoken to in years, all trying to guilt trip me. I'm selfish, I'm cold, I should do the right thing. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I've tried setting boundaries, but no one cares. I'm honestly starting to wonder if I need to take legal action to protect the trust. The thought of turning this into some court drama makes me sick, but I don't know what else to do. That's where I'm at. I just needed to get it all out. If anyone's got advice, I'm open. Update 2. Hey Reddit, yeah, I'm back. I don't know how many of these I'll end up writing, but I feel like I'm just barely hanging on. Things have spiraled even more. This whole situation isn't just about Emma anymore. My entire family is now tangled up in this trust fund mess. After that awful lunch where they asked for half of it, I figured things might quiet down. I said, no, I was clear. The money isn't even available. And even when it is, I'm not giving it to them. I thought maybe they'd back off, let things cool. But then my dad called, asking me to come over to chat. His tone was overly friendly, and it immediately put me on edge. I asked if it was about Jake and Emma. My mom said, not exactly, but it's important. Against my gut feeling, I went. When I got there, Jake and Emma were already sitting on the couch like they were about to pitch me a startup. My mom gestured for me to sit. This wasn't a casual talk. It was an ambush. It started the same way. Small talk, forced smiles. Then my mom said, Mia, there's been so much tension lately. We just want to find a solution. I looked over at Jake and Emma, gave me one of her fake polite smiles. I braced myself. Then my dad said, we think the best thing would be a compromise. Compromise? I asked. What are you suggesting? Jake leaned forward, all serious. Mia, we know you have your own plans for the trust fund and we respect that. But Emma and I are in a tough spot. The wedding, our future, it's a lot. Even a little help from you would go a long way. Emma jumped in. Exactly, it doesn't have to be half. Just something to show your support. It's not just about money, it's about family. That word, family. They keep weaponizing it, using it like some kind of guilt grenade. I took a breath and said, I've said this a million times. The money isn't available yet. And even when it is, I'm not giving it away. I have my own plans. My dad shifted uncomfortably. Mia, we're not asking for half. Just think about helping them out a little. It might help ease some of this tension. So now it's my responsibility to fix the tension by giving away money I don't even have yet. Jake sighed like he was the one who was tired. It's not just about the money, Mia. It's about showing that you care. You're in a good place, and this could really help us start our life. I looked at Emma. She had this smug look on her face like she'd already won. This isn't fair, I said, trying to keep it together. I've worked hard to plan my future. That money's a part of it. Why should I have to give it up just because you two are getting married? Emma's smile faded. It's not about fairness, Mia. It's about family. Jake and I are building something. You have the means to help. It wouldn't even hurt you to give just a little. Then my mom, softly, Mia, I think what Emma's trying to say is this could be a way to bring us closer. Sometimes it's better to compromise than to hold on so tightly to something. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. These were the same parents who taught me to be responsible, to work for what I wanted, and now they're siding with her. I'm not holding on tightly, I said, my voice shaking. I'm following the rules. I have goals. I'm doing exactly what I should be. Why is that so hard to understand? Silence. Then Emma opened her mouth again, her voice cold. You know, Mia, I think the real Jake accidentally sent a group text that was clearly meant only for Emma, and I was one of the recipients. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. The message said something along the lines of, if Mia doesn't cave soon, maybe it's time to play dirty. She cares too much about what people think. Fuse that. My heart dropped. I read it 3 times just to be sure I wasn't misinterpreting it, but there was no way to spin it. It was clear, calculated, and absolutely disgusting. About 30 seconds later, I saw the message deleted notification, followed by another message from Jake. Sorry, wrong group. No explanation, no apology, just that. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My hands were shaking. For all the manipulation and guilt-tripping, up to this point, part of me had still hoped they were just misguided. But this proved it. They were willing to ruin my reputation to pressure me into giving up my trust fund. And for what? A wedding. I forwarded the message to my lawyer immediately. She told me to save a screenshot and document everything. She said that this, with the prior harassment, painted a clear picture of intent to manipulate and emotionally coerce me. At this point, she was ready to escalate things further if needed. What happened next honestly felt like a weird twist in a drama series. My cousin Laratha, one who had always been in my corner, somehow caught wind of the message. I'm not sure how. Maybe someone in the family chat screenshotted it before Jake deleted it. She called me up and said, "Mia, I don't know if you realize how much this is blowing up. People are starting to see what's really going on." Apparently, the group chat had lit up. Some of my extended family members who'd originally sided with Emma and Jake were now backing off. One even called me to apologize for what they'd said weeks ago. That tiny bit of validation hit harder than I expected. After weeks of feeling isolated and gaslit, anyone finally acknowledging that I wasn't crazy. That meant something. My parents, of course, still weren't on my side. My mom called again a day later, saying how disappointed she was that this was tearing the family apart. I wanted to scream. It wasn't me tearing us apart. It was the people who thought emotional blackmail and manipulation were acceptable ways to get money they weren't entitled to. I told her flat out, "I've tried to handle this with respect. I've explained myself more times than I can count. But I'm done explaining. If you're more upset about a legal letter than about your son trying to ruin my life, then we don't have anything else to talk about," she cried. I didn't. It's weird. I used to think I'd always have my family, that no matter what, they'd have my back. But now I'm starting to realize that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally will choose comfort and tradition over doing what's right. I didn't ask for this war, but I'm not going to lay down and lose just because the enemy shares my blood. So that's where things are now. The cease and desist letter has done its job. Emma's gone quiet publicly, and Jake, after that text, hasn't reached out at all. My lawyer has everything documented, and I've even taken steps to protect my financial data in case someone else tries to snoop. I feel sad, yes, but also relieved. I've stopped waiting for apologies or clarity that may never come. I'm focusing on me, my goals, my future. And if nothing else, at least now, I know exactly where everyone stands. Thanks again, Reddit. You've been the only place I feel like I'm not losing my mind. I'll update if anything new happens, but for now, I'm reclaiming my peace. Jake sent a group text that included me, our parents, and a couple of cousins, and it blew everything wide open. His messages exposed more than I ever thought I'd see. The first one was to Emma and read, "I found the messages you sent to your friends about Mia and the trust fund. Are you serious? You've been bragging about securing the bag this whole time." Then he attached screenshots, actual messages Emma had sent to someone, gloating about how she was just waiting for my parents to wear me down. One read, "Don't worry, Robert and Anna will push Mia into giving me the money. She's too soft to hold out forever." Another said, "Mia's so wrapped up in her little business dreams she doesn't even realize how selfish she's being. That money should have been split with the family from the beginning." Then Jake sent a follow-up, "I can't believe you've been manipulating everyone, including me, just to get your hands on money that isn't yours. This stops now." When those messages hit the chat, everything went dead silent. Seconds later, Jake realized what he'd done and followed up with, "Oh no, this wasn't supposed to go here. I'm so sorry." But it was too late. My mom was the first to respond, "Emma, what is this? Is this true?" Then my dad, "Emma, you told us you were trying to resolve this peacefully. Were you lying to us the whole time?" Emma tried, scrambling with excuses. "These are being taken completely out of context. I was venting about the stress of the wedding. You've all misunderstood." But no one was buying it, not this time. Jake didn't say anything else in the chat, but the damage was already done. That evening, he called me. His voice was shaky. "Mia, I'm so sorry. I was going to confront Emma privately, but I accidentally sent the messages to everyone. I didn't mean for you to find out like this." I took a deep breath, barely holding back my anger. "Jake, why didn't you say something sooner? You've been defending her for months while she was stabbing me in the back." He admitted he had no idea how bad it was until he found those messages on her phone. "I couldn't believe it," he said. "I was trying to figure out how to bring it up without blowing everything up, but I clearly failed." His voice cracked. "I let her manipulate me, Mia. I thought she was just passionate about our future, but now I see how far she took it. I'm so sorry for everything." I sighed, a strange mix of fury and sadness swirling in me. "Jake, I've been trying to tell you this all along. Emma didn't care about the family, she cared about what she could get. Your apology means something, but fixing this will take more than just words. He understood. And then, he disappeared. The fallout was instant. Laura, my cousin who's always had my back, told me the group chat was going off for hours after I exited. Relatives who'd called me selfish were suddenly changing their tune. Emma's true colors were finally out in the open. But Emma didn't go quietly. In the days that followed, she tried calling people one-on-one to spin new versions of the story. She told them the texts were jokes, that I'd overreacted, that it was all just wedding stress. But no one really bought it. The screenshots were damning, and her excuses were weak. Jake went quiet. Then one day, he called again. This time, his tone was heavier, more grounded. I ended things with Emma, he said. I can't stay with someone who would do this to my family. I let it go way too far. I could hear how broken he sounded, and as much as it hurt, I appreciated the honesty. I'm glad you're finally seeing it, I said. But you need to understand how you let it happen. Why you ignored the signs and defended her when you shouldn't have. So, here we are. Final update. Hey friends, just checking in with the last piece of this insane puzzle. I never imagined things would get this far, but I've finally reached a place where I can let it all go. Emma didn't exit quietly. Laura told me she overheard Emma at a family event before it all blew up, muttering, "This whole mess is Mia's fault. If she had just done the right thing, none of this would have happened." Word eventually got around that Emma's wedding plans fell apart. The fancy venue, cancelled. That expensive dream dress, returned. Turns out, she couldn't afford any of it because she'd been banking on me to fund it all. When that plan collapsed, so did everything else. Emma quietly disappeared from social media. She stopped showing up to family events. She went dark. Honestly, it was a relief. But just because she left didn't mean everything was magically fixed. My parents started reaching out more. My dad eventually admitted they'd handled everything terribly. My mom, the one who defended Emma the longest, finally apologized. "I'm sorry, Mia," she said. "I should have believed you sooner." It wasn't some grand, sweeping fix, but it was a start. In the months since, I've focused on reclaiming my peace. I cut off all contact with Emma completely. I set clear boundaries with Jake and my parents. Jake, now free from Emma, has started therapy. He's finally taking steps to understand why he let this happen. My parents have expressed genuine regret and are trying to rebuild the trust they broke. It's going to take time. A lot of time. But for once, it feels like things are moving in the right direction. This whole nightmare taught me the value of setting boundaries, speaking up, and not letting guilt hold you hostage. I used to think protecting my peace made me selfish. Now I know better. It means I'm healing. For the first time in a long time, I feel good, solid, in control. I'm moving forward with my life, focused on the future I built for myself. Thanks for being here through it all. Reddit. It's been a wild ride, but I'm finally free.